Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Today we are diving into the fascinating intersection of science, technology, and the human condition. So, firstly, I'm going to talk and show to you about the learning outcomes of this discussion. So, first, we critique human flourishing and the progress of science and technology. Second is analyze the human condition in order to deeply reflect and express philosophical implications that are meaningful to you as a part of society. Next is discuss the importance of upholding human rights in science, technology, and development. Next, identify key documents and their principles that ensure the well-being of human rights in the midst of scientific progress and technological development. And lastly, we will examine shared concerns that make up the good life in order to come up with the informed decisions on contemporary issues guided by the ethical standards. So, we have the good life and human person flourishing in terms of science and technology. So first, let's begin with Aristotle himself, a truly remarkable thinker. He lived from 384 to 322 BC, and his contributions have shaped much of Western thought. And one of his key concepts is human flourishing, also known as personal flourishing. So what does this mean? Aristotle believed that human flourishing involves the rational use of our individual potentials, our talents, abilities, and virtues in pursuit of freely and rationally chosen values and goals. It's about more than just being happy. It's about fulfilling our human capacities, and more importantly, he saw this as a moral accomplishment where self-actualization and moral growth go hand in hand. Now, how do we achieve this flourishing? Aristotle emphasized the role of practical reason. It's about using our reason to consider our unique needs, circumstances, and capabilities. This allows us to determine which specific virtues and values will contribute to our well-being. Essentially, to flourish, we must pursue goals that are rational both for us individuals and as human beings in general. So, Aristotle is rightly considered one of the most significant thinkers ever. He was, as it's often said, the teacher of those who know. He defended reason, invented logic, and focused on the importance of life on earth. His emphasis on reality paved the way for development and science and technology. So his influence is on our topic is profound. Now, let's talk about happiness. Aristotle saw happiness as the ultimate and end of human action. It's not just a fleeting feeling, but for Aristotle, this good life is deeply connected to living virtuously and using our reason. Now, onto the good life. The Nicomachean Ethics. Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics is a philosophical inquiry into the nature of the good life for a human being. He believed that the goal of all human life is to achieve ultimate happiness. However, Aristotle warns against going astray and preferring a life suitable to beasts by assuming happiness and pleasure are equal. Nicomachean Ethics considers happiness as a final and self-sufficient end of an action. Aristotle maintains that a life of contemplation and virtue is the best and happiest in life. For example, the activity of God surpasses all other in blessedness, which is which must be contemplative, and as human activities correspond to this, therefore making this the most of nature and happiness. Practical wisdom is linked with virtue of character, and that practical wisdom is in accordance with the moral virtues and righteousness and rightness morals with practical wisdom. The life of a man is who is active in accordance with virtue will be happy, as passion and moral virtues belong to our composite nature. Now for eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is a Greek word that means good spirit. It is often translated as happiness, well-being, or flourishing. Aristotle believed that eudaimonia is the ultimate goal of human life. He argued that all other things that we desire are desired for the sake of eudaimonia. For example, we desire wealth because we believe that it will make us happy. We desire health because we believe that it will make us happy. Eudaimonia is not a static state, but rather an ongoing process of living well and doing well. Now, arete is another Greek word that is often translated as virtue or excellence. Aristotle believed that arete is essential for eudaimonia, and he argued that we can only achieve eudaimonia by developing our arete. There are two types of arete, intellectual and moral. Intellectual arete is developed through education and learning, while moral arete is developed through habit and practice. Also, Aristotle believed that the best way to develop moral arete is to follow example of virtuous people.
So now we move on to the intellectual virtue, acquired through education, experience, and contemplation. Examples include wisdom and understanding. Meaning, the virtue in achieving happiness includes intellectual virtues. When a person has wisdom and understanding, this person achieves happiness. The next one is moral virtue. It is developed through habitual practice such as courage, generosity, and temperance. These virtues require continuous effort and balance to avoid excess or deficiency. This means that when you practice courage, generosity, and other virtues, you have morals as a person. For example, sharing your food, jumping when you don't feel like it. So that is a part of achieving happiness. Next. These are the laws and ethics in achieving the good life, according to Aristotle. Laws guide people towards virtuous actions through ethical commands and prohibitions. So, when you have laws, these are guides to how people should act towards one another and towards the community. Education is essential, particularly for the young, to train their passions and desires in accordance with reason. Excuse me. Meaning, when you're still young, you build this foundation of creating something in the future to have a good life. Good laws create a society where people can develop and practice virtues. So, without these laws, how are we supposed to manage the society, manage ourselves, our temperance, and other good things presented on the other slides, such as courage, discipline, and other virtues to have happiness and this good life that we aim for. Another way is through summary and reflection. A person must do some sort of reflection, or let's say summarize his or her thoughts in order to achieve this so-called good life. Aristotle's Nicomachean ethics remains relevant in modern society. This philosophy teaches that achieving a good life requires one, continuous self-improvement through virtues, as I have said in the past two slides, rational decision-making aligned with ethical values, a balanced and meaningful pursuit of happiness through self-actualization. Without these three, you may never, let's say, practice the past two slides in achieving the good life and, of course, happiness. So we move on to the portion where human flourishing in terms of science and technology. What are the three main concepts about this topic? One, the role of science and technology in human progress. Scientific and technological advancements have significantly shaped human society. Progress in these fields has led to improvements in health, communication, and overall well-being. However, ethical considerations must guide their development to ensure they contribute positively to humanity. So imagine doing research on something. So let's say you have a head of a dog and then you try to bring it back to life while providing blood and oxygen through an artificial pump. Would that be ethical? Number two, measuring human flourishing. So several factors influence human flourishing include economic stability, measured by per capita GDP. This is where economic growth starts. Health and longevity, access to healthcare and life expectancy, meaning uh, hospitalization, medical treatments, social trust and freedom, the ability to make independent life choices. So human flourishes through, economic stability. Where do you live? Or how is the government dealing with all of us? Do you have access to healthcare? Do you have freedom of, let's say, speech or whatever? Do you have the choice to drive your motorcycle or your vehicle in the highway for that day? So, we move on to number three, the ethical dimensions of science and technology. So the development of science and technology must align with ethical standards to prevent harm and promote well-being. As I have mentioned with the head and the artificial pump, would that be ethical? Would that be good in, let's say, trying to develop an artificial human heart? Do we use the head's dog? Okay. Thinkers like Martin Heidegger and C.S. Lewis caution against unchecked technological progress that may compromise human values. Ethical concerns include the impact of automation on employees, the ethical use of artificial intelligence, the balance between scientific progress and environmental stability. So again, the importance of laws and ethics in this society. Laws should promote virtues and prevent moral decline. Education and legal frameworks play a vital role in shaping ethical individuals. So get educated. Good laws ensure societal harmony by aligning personal virtues and collective well-being. In the contemporary society, laws governing scientific research and technological development serve to protect human rights, privacy, and ethical standards. So, in conclusion, Aristotle provides valuable insights into the philosophical foundations of happiness and human flourishing. It highlights the importance of virtue, wisdom, and ethical living in the pursuit of the good life. So, may everyone have learned to do these things in order to contribute to society and teach others in a good, ethical, virtuous, and happy manner. That's all for part one. Thank you.